Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Net Game. In today's video, we're going to be going through 3 NBA super teams that totally backfired. Now guys, real quick before we do get into the countdown, I want to let you guys know that we will be picking one lucky subscriber every month to win a shout out at the start of a video. All you must do to enter is subscribe to our channel, like the video, and comment down below saying I subscribed. Good luck guys. Now without any further ado, let's get into the countdown. Number 3, 2008 to 2009, Phoenix Suns. See, Phoenix Suns of mid-2000 were coached by Mike D'Antoni and ran a revolutionary fast-paced offense that at times seemed to be unguarded. With two-time MVP Steve Nash at the helm paired with Amar Stoudemire as a perfect premier big man, several times the mid to late 2000s, Phoenix Suns almost made the NBA Finals only to come up a little short. In 2005, the Suns would match up with the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals but only won one game and were sent back home packed in 2006 again. Phoenix made the Western Conference Finals, but again, they lost. Then after a 2007 season that saw them won 61 games but lose before the Western Conference Finals, Phoenix felt that while they had a great regular season roster, changes needed to be made in order to have a playoff success. This meant that at the 2008 trade deadline, the Suns made a massive move when they traded all-star Shawn Marion for a very old Shaquille O'Neal. This trade would prove to be a disaster for Phoenix, as their offense was based on force spreading and shooting while Shaq was at the point of his career where he was a shell of his former self, aka the man had put on some pounds because of this. When it came time for the playoffs, the Suns had gone from a contender to a team without an identity, which meant that it was no surprise when they lost to the Spurs in the first round of the playoffs. Despite this setback, some Phoenix fans did remain optimistic because they believed maybe the team just needed an entire season with Shaq on the roster to really gel. These fans were horribly wrong, as despite the fact that Shaq averaged almost 18 points and 8.5 rebounds a game while being named an all-star, the 2009 season would see the Suns with just 46 games and miss out on the playoffs for the first time in the Steve Nash era. Then, as if to prove it was really Shaq weighing them down during the 2009 season, the Suns would actually trade Shaq to the Cavs. And then the very next season without Shaq, Phoenix again made the Western Conference Finals before losing in 6 games to the Lakers. Clearly, looking back at the Shaq trade, it's obvious that the Suns made a very big mistake, and it appears that Steve Nash agrees, as after his first time with the Suns ended, Nash was quoted saying, "I think we were a championship caliber team. We might have had a shot or two if we had just stuck together." Number 2. 2013 Los Angeles Lakers. While 2004 Lakers very well could have been on this list, in my opinion, the 2013 Lakers are much more interesting. Because remember, in the first 2012 offseason, the Los Angeles Lakers would make 2 big-time moves. First, they sent a bunch of draft picks to Phoenix in exchange for 38-year-old Steve Nash. Then 1 month later, it appeared that the Lakers have hit the jackpot when they were able to basically trade an injury-prone Andrew Bynum for the best center in the NBA, Dwight Howard. By the way, I know a lot of people hate Dwight right now, but we need to remember that before he was traded to the Lakers, Dwight had been the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year 3 times and had just been named the first team All-NBA the last 5 seasons. With all this said, however, by the start of the 2013 season, it was very obvious that this team was seemingly destined to fail, because just after 5 games, the Lakers had already experienced one of the worst starts in their franchise's history, as they were just quickly 1-4 ends ridiculously. Because of this, in a desperation move, the Lakers decided to fire head coach Mike Brown and eventually replace him with Mike D'Antoni. This was bold, to say the least, and unfortunately for the Lakers fans, these early failures would prove to be a season-long experience. Honestly, when it comes down to it, Nash and Dwight really just never fit into this roster. I mean, both Kobe and Nash were very ball-dominant players whose games just did not mesh. Meanwhile, Dwight insisted on getting as many post-up opportunities as possible and basically refused to run the pick and roll. On top of this, Kobe would later say in an interview with USA Today, "I tried teaching Dwight, I tried showing it, but the reality is that when you have a perception of what is going to win a championship, and most perceptions of what it's like to win are your friends all the time," and I think that's what his perception was of the idea. But when he saw the reality of it, it made him uncomfortable. Obviously, here we can see that Kobe was unhappy with Dwight and basically said that he did not have the mindset required to win a title. This would show throughout the rest of the 2013 season. The Lakers would win just 45 games, and after Kobe tore his Achilles, LA would go on to be swept by the Spurs in the first round of the playoffs. Number 1. 2005 Indiana Pacers. In the 2004 NBA season, the Indiana Pacers established themselves as a team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Led by a pair of all-stars, a young Ron Artest and Jamani O'Neal, the Pacers would win 61 games, and Artest was named the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. And sure, while Indiana would fall to the Detroit Pistons after 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was clear that this Indiana team was a legitimate contender for the 2005 NBA championship. This was especially true when we consider the fact that in the 2004 offseason, sensing that they needed a better third option, the Pacers would trade out Harrington for Steven Jackson. And it should come as no surprise that to start off the 2005 season, it was the Indiana Pacers who jumped out to a 7-2 record, which was good, but in the 9-game stretch, Ron Artest would miss 2 games. In the 7 games that Ron played in Indiana was actually 6-1, with their only loss coming in overtime. And remember, as I said before, Artest had just won the Defensive Player of the Year award, and now to begin the year, he was also averaging almost 25 points a game on 50% shooting. He had seriously begun to establish himself as a true NBA star. However, with all of this set in the 9th game of the 2005 season, a game that saw Indiana Pacers destroy none other than the team that beat them in the 2004 Eastern Conference Finals, the Detroit Pistons, the Pacers of course would run into some major problems. Now, the Detroit Pistons. The Pacers would of course run into some major problems. Now, of course, the Mouse at the Palace was an event that included Ron Artest and Steven Jackson charging into the stands to fight fans, while Jermaine O'Neal was found throwing haymakers at fans on the court. This was one of the worst things to ever happen to the NBA. So regardless of that, it was the malice in the palace that destroyed the 2005 Indiana Pacers. Ron Artest would be suspended for the remainder of the season, Steven Jackson was suspended for 30 games, and Jermaine O'Neal was suspended for 15. These suspensions had a huge impact on the Pacers' season that year, as even though they lost their star player Ron Artest, Indiana would still lose in the second round of the playoffs, but was clearly not the championship contender they had once been. This horrible event would also have a long-lasting negative effect on both the Pacers and Ron Artest, as after playing just 16 games in 2006 with Indiana, Ron was traded to the Sacramento Kings and never again showcased the potential he had once demonstrated to begin the 2005 season, which of course leaves us with some major what-ifs, because if the malice in the palace never happened, would the 2005 Pacers have ended up as NBA champions? Also, if we had never charged into the stands, what would have happened to Ron Artest? I mean, again, the man had just won Defensive Player of the Year and was now averaging 25 points per game. In that 2005 season, he was just 25 years old. Well, there you have it, guys. That was 3 NBA super teams that totally backfired. If you did enjoy this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Also, make sure you don't miss out on our monthly shout out giveaway. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in our next video.